Welcome back. Focus on commercial trust. You may ask, what is that? When people hear trust, they often think of something old or reserved only for wealthy families, but trust has evolved, I must say. There are now powerful tools in modern commerce, business financing, and of course, partnerships. One fast-growing area is commercial trusts, which protect assets, manage obligations, and ensure transparency in business.
Please, it's not the kind of trust that we said.
No, not that kind of trust. Nigeria
we'll
leadership.
Find out more now.
Also, today we're joined by experts from First Trustees, Nigeria's leading trust service provider, to unpack what they are, what they matter, why they matter, and how businesses can leverage on them. You can see Babatunde Adewolu, head corporate trust, First Trustees, joins us in the studio to discuss this. So, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you very much.
In the studio. So, to begin with, what exactly are commercial trusts? To try and unpack that and demystify what it is.
All right. So, commercial trusts are really, they are a type of trust. And they are, you can describe them by reference to the more popular context in which trusts are discussed, which is private trust. When you talk about inheritance, estate planning, wealth management, and what sort of provisioning for minors, where, you plan for, you put assets in a trust for the benefit of beneficiaries. Commercial trusts actually, are modeled after private trusts. They share a common history, but private trusts were the original trusts. And how did they come about? Let's just go back in time to the 1100s and the 1200s, medieval England, where knights, warriors, go to fight, for the control of the Holy Land. And when they go for these wars, they leave vast estates in land in England. Now, the odds are that, as a warrior, you may or may not come back, all right? So you have to provision for your minors, for your dependents, while you are away, fighting for
in case you don't come back.
In case you don't come back. Now, at that time, there's a limitation to how women could hold, property culturally, right? And also, children can't control assets. So these warriors have to rely on their kith and kin to control the landed asset that they've left back in England. And the risks are that those people can abuse the trust, and use the assets for themselves. So the court of England, began to declare trusts, something that hitherto did not do, right? To say, if legal interest in a thing vests in one person, right, the benefit of that thing can actually vest in another. So even though you are a minor, even though you are a woman, you are the beneficiary of the person that has gone to war. That person who has control and legal interest in that asset is duty bound, has a fiduciary duty to use that asset for the dependents. All right. So the court began to declare, trust. And then the idea just came. So people, whether or not they are going to war, just declare trust, put an asset in trust, and legal ownership or control of that asset resided in the trustee, but the benefit of it resides in the beneficiaries, and it's perfectly enforceable in law. Now, let's come back to the modern commerce. In modern commerce, I say, it is my view that commercial trust is the invisible backbone of modern commerce. If you take transactions such as, and sometimes we invest in these things, we don't even know that they run on the template of commercial trust. Mutual funds, otherwise known as collective investment schemes, right? They run on the template of commercial trust. The asset in mutual funds is held by the trustee for the benefit of beneficiaries, investors like you and I, all right? REITs, real estate investment trust, they run on the template of commercial trust, which is that the asset is in the trustee, but for the benefit of the beneficiaries. And the trustee has fiduciary duty to ensure transparency, accountability, to make sure that the beneficiaries of the assets, get what they deserve, right? Now, in modern times, if you look at even asset-backed securities in the United States, it's a very huge market in billions of dollars. Corporate bonds that are issued by corporates. If you have ever invested in any corporate bond in Nigeria, there's a trustee at the roots of that transaction, looking out for the interests of bondholders or investors, right? So regulators use these structures to ensure transparency, accountability in these transactions. Otherwise, we'll not be able to bring those transactions to market. So we actually use commercial trust to make investment opportunities meet investors. So in a nutshell, we can unpack it as we go along, but in a nutshell, that's commercial trust for you.
So, that's what your organization is also deals in, or is one of your offerings?
It's one of our offerings.
Okay.
Yeah. So we do private trusts, and then we offer commercial trust services.
Okay. So our conversation today is based on commercial trusts.
It's commercial trusts.
Okay. So are there some, maybe practical examples?
Yes.
Of maybe from corporates to SMEs about how they can leverage commercial trusts,
Yes.
For financing, for infrastructure.
Yes, absolutely. So for corporates, right? I didn't mention when I spoke earlier corporate bonds. Okay, I did mention corporate bonds, right? When corporates come to the market to issue to raise capital from the capital market, they use the structure of trust, right, to raise capital from the market to say, okay, we are going to raise money from the public, and when we do, there's going to be a trustee, right, who's going to use this trust structure to hold the assets, right, and to basically protect the interest of investors. If you don't have that structure, investors will not invest in because having that trustee on ground, especially if it's a tested, trusted trustee, then investors will be comfortable. Regulators will approve your transaction because you have a tested and trusted trustee who is competent, to protect the interest of investors. So that's one practical example. Another practical example for maybe much smaller companies is something you call an escrow, right? An escrow arrangement, right? Where I'll cite an example of a live transaction that we have, where there is a party that wants to buy maybe an asset. All right, he has the money, but not at once. So he says, okay, you know what? I will pay for this asset in installments. Let's say 2 installments, right? But I will pay the money to a trustee, who's an escrow agent. I'll pay the money to the trustee. The trustee holds that fund, right? When I have the balance, I then pay you I pay the balance to the trustee, and then after that, the trustee can then release the asset to me. All the while, the title document to the asset will be with the trustee. So you see that control, right, is with the trustee. The funds are with the trustee, and both parties are able to deal this because they don't have to trust each other. They can trust the trustee, the brand, to say, okay, the funds is with first trustees, fine. I've paid the first installment. I'm bringing the second installment by end of June, right? The title document is with the trustee. If I don't pay, first trustees will give me back the initial deposit, right? But the title goes back to the owner, then transaction doesn't happen. I'm not obliged to you, I'm not obliged to me, transaction ends. But if I'm able to pay the balance, there's nothing the other side can do. I will get the title documents because they are with a trustee. So you see how control in a trustee is being able to make a transaction that would otherwise have been difficult to consummate, to be consummated. So those are like practical examples. Employee share schemes is another one. We've had maybe hospitals or hotels come to us and say, our people are leaving, our doctors are leaving, right? We want to encourage them to stay, but we can't match some salaries. But we are growing, we'll get there. I say, okay, you know what? Set up an employee share scheme. An employee share scheme is where employees are given a chunk of the ownership of the shares of the company to make them feel, and to actually have a stake in the company, right? And as the company is doing well, they're also doing well because their shares are appreciating, they get dividends just like, right? But to make it transparent, if you run it on the trust structure, those shares as a block are left with a trustee. So you know that so far you are in the employ of that company. The company can just say, he didn't grace me with the car park yesterday, so he's not going to get his dividend this year. The trustee will ensure, because the dividend goes straight to the trustee, and then the trustee then gives it to whoever, right? And if there are rules around how to then get your own shares, ultimately maybe when you are leaving, there are scheme rules, right, that define, okay, if I'm leaving, can I take my shares and say, okay, yeah, you can, but maybe you should have spent 10, 20 years before you can go, and all of that. You are sure, because it is run based on a trust structure, you can be sure that you will get those shares. But if it is run maybe internally, right, you can say, no, we don't, he's not getting it. Go to court if you want to go to court. Right, yeah. So those are practical examples of how commercial trust, can be used, to bring transparency, accountability, into transactions.
There's a level of confidence that comes with what you do, which I've seen, and that's why you're here. So first trustees, where do they come in all of this to ensure, in handling corporate and commercial trust mandates? Tell us exactly what you do and why, everyone should trust you to do their business.
I think I would express that in 3 words. I think one is talent. Another is brand, right? And of course, professionalism. I would say those three key things are very important. Now, like I mentioned, if the examples that I've given on this kind of transactions, if I brought in my younger brother to come and act on that thing, all right, the other side will be like, I'm not sure, I don't even know him. Are we sure we are able to deal this? Or I bring a brand that is not well known, right, and that they can't trust. The transaction will still not happen because you need that central party that everyone can trust, right, to say, okay, because this party is involved, I am confident that this thing will happen and they will act according to what they say they will do and according to the transaction documents. So that brand, First Trustees is one of the first trustees in Nigeria, right, in terms of when we came to be, right, is one of the oldest, right. Number two, in terms of accomplishment within the market, we are one of the best, right. So, for example, I was talking about mutual funds the other time. In mutual funds, we are the biggest in that space. In corporate bonds, we are one of the biggest, right. So you know that the trustee that you are bringing on board has the track record and experience. So you are not just talking to some, shadowy figure. You are talking to a tested and trusted brand. And of course, talent. In terms of talent, we are able to attract talent who are able to deal these transactions and, make them, go easy for all the parties involved and, for the transaction to have that kind of robust structure and, efficiency that is needed to put the transaction through. So I would say professionalism, brand strength, right, and talent. That's what drives it.
Give us an idea of the entry level. Okay. For someone watching you right now and is curious about maybe exploring the what Joke calls the confidence that you are exhuming.
Yes.
What's the entry level? How does the person start? What does anyone need to start? Is it only corporates that can do commercial trusts, or is it something that individuals can do? If it's just corporates, is it only SMEs or blue chips?
Okay, so I think the blue chips they are far ahead in the game, right? The blue chips have been using commercial trusts. All the transactions I mentioned, if you are going to issue a corporate bond now in billions, right, those are the blue chips, all right? That's why I actually mentioned examples of, smaller companies that are maybe you're just trying to develop a 4-bedroom flat in Magodo. You are just coming up, all right? Transaction size is maybe less than maybe 100 million, 150 million. You're just trying to do something small, but you have trust issues, right? And you feel, okay, I can actually leverage trust structure to be sure that I won't go wrong in this transaction. So every cadre of corporates, right, has the kind of thing they can sign up to. So for corporate bond, for example, you know that there are certain disclosures that are needed because it's issued to the public, right? The SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, is involved. So some types of corporates may not be able to access that level, all right, until they've gotten to that stage. But for smaller things like, escrow arrangements or employee share schemes where you're just growing, I mean, these employee share schemes, startups use it, right? To say, okay, you know what, it's early days, right? It's early days, but look, we are going to grow big, and having a stake in the company right now is what guarantees that when we grow, you will make it as the company is making it. All right. So to answer your question directly, it is not a one-size-fits-all. You have to look at the level that you are to know what you can access.
Interesting. Just a quick one. So you're saying that sole business, sole owner, sole proprietorship.
Yeah.
Because now with the CAMA 2020, one person can own a limited liability company. Yeah. And he doesn't want to share, he doesn't want to have co-directors, but he can have this commercial trust system to engage other people.
Yes, I mean, even if you're a sole proprietor, it depends on what you're trying to do. Okay. Right? You can be a sole proprietorship, and let's say you are borrowing money, all right? Or let's say you are trying to acquire an asset. Remember, trust is controlling of assets. That's what trust is about. If there's no assets, there's no trust, right? So trust is you can use a trust to control assets. So being a sole proprietorship doesn't mean that you cannot have assets. You can have assets.
No. What I mean, when you say you can have a commercial trust, so that people can have a sense of ownership in a business that they do not own.
Okay.
That's what I'm talking.
Okay, no. For sole proprietorship, maybe not. Okay. Because it's a one-man business. Okay. Right? You are not at that level.
But you have employees.
Yes. If you have employees, so the question is, so are you giving them a stake in your business?
Okay.
If you are giving them a stake in your business, you might have to reconsider the corporate structure of sole proprietorship and say, okay, maybe we need to move to limited liability status for us to be able to give out stakes, right? So, but all these things are things that you sit down, we look at your objective in the medium to long term and advise, so it is what you need to do. And, First Trustees is part of a group, right? The First Holdco group, and we have multiple layers of, we have securities, we have asset management, so they are all there, and we can also always, push you in the right direction for appropriate advisors per time that can advise you on what to do.
Wow, and where can people go to check this stuff out? I think you have a website somewhere and email.
Yeah. So we have our website, legacyseries.firsttrustees.com. Okay. That's our website, and of course, our email, contacttrustees@firsttrustees.com. You can also call us on 0805 400 0299. So, those are our contact line, but, they are always on our website and our handles on social media.
What kind of feedback have you gotten over time in the course of doing your job, particularly this particular initiative?
Sorry, clarify that question.
Feedback. Okay. What kind of responses have you gotten from people who have used your services?
Oh, fantastic. Because you see, when a solution meets a problem in time, it's priceless. You see, because I'll give you an example. There is a business that we helped. They were trying to unlock capital from banks. All right. They had assets, a factory somewhere in Shagamu. Right, and they had a relationship with a bank for a long time, like mid-90s. They have been dedicated to that bank from the mid-90s. They've been using, but they were not aware that leveraging trust structure could help them use the same assets that they had been using to collateralize the facilities to that particular bank since the 90s, that they could use a trust structure to actually use that same asset to collateralize a different facility from another bank. So, they came and they were wringing their hands and they were saying, somebody said we should talk to a trustee. We don't even know what it means. And we're like, okay, what's your situation? And they told us, their situation. We said, okay, why don't you talk to our bank? Talk to other banks. These assets, the value is quite substantial, right? And the facility you are getting from this lender is quite a fraction of the value of your assets. So you can actually put this asset in a security trust with First Trustees, tell your lenders that all of them will share from that trust pool, right? So you are able to unlock more capital instead of being limited by what that one single bank has been giving you, all right? And the man just, he was like, how does that work? So don't worry, we'll handle you. And by the time the thing eventually came and he got that additional loan, you can imagine when solution meets a genuine problem that the person had no idea. Yeah. So the feedback has been fantastic, especially when the problem, the solution meets exactly the problem at the right point. So the feedback has been fantastic.
Well, the website again, because I can hear someone say, oh, really? So this is possible?
Yes.
So the website again
is... So the website is legacyseries.firsttrustees.com.
Okay.
Legacyseries.firsttrustees.com.
Okay.
Reach us to us through there.
Someone just go there and solve the problem.
Yes, certainly. Well, thank you again, Babatunde Adewolu. Yes. Wow, I'm learning new names every day.
You got
Head Corporate Trust First Trustees. A pleasure again having you on the program.
Thank you very much.
So when we return, it is time for us to pray.